Welcome back for the conclusion of this Freak the Geek series where we've been exploring Hitchcock's influence on David Cronenberg's Dead Ringers. We left off talking about this so-called twin movie, which is really a doppelganger film. But it's more than just that. There's also a slippery sexuality at work here, just like Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train and many other films. So what? Does that mean that both directors have some sort of interest in kink? Maybe. Who knows? Sure. Yeah, I can buy that. As Dr. Bruzzi puts it, it would be easier to think of Bruno as gay, but this brand of motiveless malignity is suggestive of an altogether more disturbing and threatening masculine sexuality. She adds, Cronenberg is also uncommonly interested in capturing and expressing masculinity at the moment of its disintegration, rather as Hitchcock was intrigued by the moments when men inadvertently revealed their perversity. But I think there's more going on here. I think it's pretty clear that they're part of a broader 20th century tradition, Surrealism. It's at this level that Hitchcock's influence on Cronenberg is most evident because both directors are master practitioners of this particular ism. And that brings us to Hitchcock influence number 6. First of all, neither director was ever interested in Surrealism just as a style. There's a whole outlook and philosophy behind the movement that they embrace. Boiled down, the idea of surrealism is to disrupt our thinking with shocking and incongruous ideas and images. The purpose is to liberate our imagination and to upset our bougie notions of morality and just get us thinking. With its infinite capacity for the incongruous juxtaposition, film was the ultimate medium for surrealist expression. This is the surrealism that Hitchcock embraced. Nothing could be more surreal than an airplane in a cornfield attacking a Madison Avenue advertising executive, or a woman in a fur coat in a boat with a birdcage. As Barbara Creed writes in her essay, The Untamed Eye and the Dark Side of Surrealism, Hitchcock, Lynch, and Cronenberg, it was arguably Hitchcock who was the first popular director to explore consciously the surrealists' ideas about the cinema in his films, setting the scene for more recent directors such as David Cronenberg and David Lynch. Hey, by the way, why don't you freak me with Lynch? Anybody? Bueller? Numerous moments in Dead Ringers pay off the surreal promise. Like, what's up with those red surgical gowns? Well, surgeons' scrubs are formally known as cardinal gowns because the design resembles the robes worn by Catholic cardinals. So that's a surreal touch. Free associating those gynecologists' attire with religion and maybe with menstrual blood on top. And then there are those nasty-looking probes and tools, the sight of which incites horror in your mind because it's left mostly to the imagination the uses to which they'll be put. As mentioned in our last video, that in itself is a Hitchcockian influence, the fetishized prop. Hitchcock influence number 7! With the foundation of all that Freudian surrealist stuff in place, I think we can now answer Wendy's question. She wrote, I see parallels between the movie camera and the medical examination instruments used in this film that seem to vindicate feminist theories of the male gaze. Right you are, Wendy. In fact, I think that's the real story going on in Dead Ringers. Okay, so I should probably explain this one. If you're already familiar with male gaze theory, go ahead and scrub this video forward about 45 seconds. The male gaze that Wendy's asking about was first elaborated by the film theorist Laura Mulvey, and it basically means that our society has created an environment in which men are inclined to look at women, but women are inclined to be looked at by men. Mulvey says that Hollywood cinema, and Hitchcock's films in particular, are the perfect metaphor and example of this phenomenon. Because you have first the gaze, or the unblinking look, of the camera/director, who's usually male. You have the gaze of a male audience, for whom movies are primarily made. And finally, there's the gaze of the male characters in the film who look at the female characters. This setup reinforces male dominance while reducing women to mere objects. All in support of, you know, the patriarchy and all that. However, Dead Ringers, like many of Hitchcock's own movies, flips that whole notion upside down. To see how, come back for the final conclusion of this Freak the Geek miniseries.